The following presentation was recorded at the 2017 ANZICS Safety and Quality Conference.
So we're going to go from a kind of a constructive and balanced discussion to a cynical and brutal assessment of the world in which I live. So I'm a professor of everything, so I'm going to get myself on a soapbox, and what you're going to hear is a lot of things that will upset some people. And it's actually there to make you think. I realize that some of the things I'm going to say are extreme kind of points of view, and they're there to provoke thought, but I think it's not a bad idea to make you reflect. When I started working as a doctor, I worked in a system that was dominated by clinicians. And in that system, things worked along the lines that I'm about to go through. And they still continue and they still exist and are very well entrenched. Tribalism was dominant, it still is. And of course, every specialty will complain about every other specialty. Of course, critical care doctors are critical of everyone else, and surgeons only talk to surgeons and physicians only to physicians. And they all operate in their own wonderful silos in a tribal process. And here is the crucial thing about process evaluation. They are in charge of judging whether they have done the right thing or not. Awesome. And so they operate in a silo, which, in case you didn't know, it works for different meanings according to whether you're a farmer, a dictator, or a doctor. There are also very significant human factors that drive process change, and they're very fundamental, and they're very, very powerful. The boss of your department will determine your career, will decide whether you get a reference or a job. They're the people you kind of role model yourself to. Sometimes they are your mentor. It's very difficult for a junior doctor, it's almost impossible, to whistleblow about the fact that the boss of your unit is a sociopath. I'm Italian, so I know all about this. Their doctors are organized in the healthcare system in a cabal. It's like a mafia type of thing. And they know that everyone else outside of medicine is dangerous. They're all mad people, administrators, all mad, and they're really dangerous and should be fought in every possible way. They also work in a system that has no systematic reward for good behavior. Because good, whatever that is not defined, measured, or rewarded. Diligence is not measured or rewarded. It's not measured. You just don't know who's diligent, who's not. And if you increase safety, that is not measured or rewarded. So there's a misalignment of incentives in the system. And of course, if you see the professor of surgery go to the patient and not put an apron on and not wash their hands when they approach the patient, what are you going to do? If you're going to say something, you're going to get into big trouble. You're going to keep quiet. And that goes to the next one. There is no punishment for bad behavior. I've never seen punishment in my life apportioned to somebody in a position of some power. You only punish the underlings. Never seen in my life. 35 years of hospital life. And I've seen some bad shit go down. One of the problems is that the clients have no idea what's going on. They're unable to judge whether they're getting good care or not. They have no idea of any of the things that we talk about. And they are not in a position to complain unless there is some extraordinary event or unless there is a social problem. They're not treated nicely. People don't smile to them. So they're very happy if the surgeon does the wrong operation and kills them. A family are okay because he was such a nice guy, because they're not in a position to judge. And of course, in this world, and that's particularly my problem, is that evidence doesn't sell. No one gives us stuff. You might have been, or you might be familiar with the EBM acronym for evidence-based medicine. Not in surgery. It's all everyone but me. And when you show the evidence, they say, well, but the other surgeons don't know how to do this operation. I do. So All sorts of other factors drive evidence, and drive behavior and change and process change, power, money, experience, local culture, and so on. And also the doctor-patient relationship is problematic because the patients cannot drive change because they're in a position of needing the help of the doctor to get better. So they are very rarely in a position to drive change. And if you've heard the presentation earlier today about sepsis, you have to have a tragedy where a family is profoundly affected and a child dies before something is done. And the doctors, of course, have a dramatic pecking order. There's fear of criticism, there's protection, and Steve Bolson's experience was typical when he started telling people that they were killing children. He got destroyed. Emotionally, physically, career-wise. He got it, not the guys that were killing the kids. The nurse is just the same. Hierarchical, there's the head nurse and the ANUM, and I see it all the time. And again, for the junior staff, it's better to keep quiet and follow instructions. And then there are all sorts of social changes that drive process change within the hospital. And there is numerology, which is an important aspect of life now. And of course, what's happening now, most of our nurses have got an iPhone. In the past, they would go and talk to the patients a little bit, but now they can talk to their boyfriend, and it's a lot more rewarding. And of course, the doctors don't have the ability to bill patients for end-of-life care discussions. And so why would you do that? It takes too long, it's demanding, and so they don't want to do it. And then there are people like me. Professor, I go around and you sound erudite, you come up with all sorts of bizarre diagnoses and syndromes and words, and people think, wow, that's amazing. And so you can preserve your power and prestige within the institution. So this was the world that I grew up in. And this wonderfully chaotic, insane, sociopathic, bullying, bizarre, non-improving, non-process change, accounting, non-evidence-based world came another wonderful thing. It's called managerialism. Managerialism is an ideological stance like communism, socialism, fascism, and so on, that it's all about the transactions. It's all about the structure. It's not about the people. It's about the way you put them all together and so on. Actually, it's an ideology that came from an Australian who had migrated to America and found the injustice of the American system problematic. And all you have to do is just create these classes of corporate managers, and they will fix it all up. And of course, Animal Farm was published about that time. The individuals at the top of the organization decide what the process of change should be. They set the goals. They strategically analyze what should be done. They devise the mission, and that's the way it is. The crucial aspect is the process is set from the above. But these people ain't stupid. They're quite smart. And so they never, ever, ever set the outcomes. So it's all nebulous. We're going to have more stakeholder involvement. We're going to have more consumer participation. There is never a number around it. There is never a definition. There is never an ability to actually ensure that what they say is supposed to happen, has actually happened. But most important, and this is fantastic, is the process is the outcome of the process. It's fantastic. So the managers decide the goals, they decide the process is the outcome, and then the management are the plaintiff, the judge, the jury, the executioner, they decide if everything else has worked out or not. Because it doesn't matter whether you're doing something for Qantas or you're doing something for Telstra or you're running the Austin Hospital or any other hospital, it's all the same. It doesn't matter that the activities are completely different. And so the practitioners of managerialism don't have any content knowledge or any content expertise. It doesn't matter, right? Because that's secondary. It's all about the management of it. And amazingly, Well, actually, not amazing. I mean, the public has voted for Donald Trump to be president of the United States. Not amazingly, the public has bought all of this. There are managers everywhere, totally unaccountable to outcomes. But the real thing is, this is what happens. There are people that reorganize the distribution of resources towards themselves. This is not a new thing in the history of mankind. They've taken over, instead of having the clinicians who are sociopathic and dysfunctional, inept and problematic, getting all the money for themselves, now it's just been redistributed to another bunch of people with a different agenda. It's not worse, it's not better, it's just different. And this is what these guys do. For example, this is from the Austin Hospital. You actually pay people to find out what percentage of patients had the correct details on their ID band, and this is cool. What percentage of patients had an ID band with black text to make sure you could read it or something? It's fantastic. It's not any investigation of outcomes that mean anything. It's only investigation of process. And then process change has been successful, because the process has been processed and it has happened. Of course, it has no meaning to anyone, but you can go around and say, hey, we manage process change. We've made it happen. It doesn't matter that people did or did not get infection. Did the patient use the green soap during their last shower? Wow. So documentation becomes the new black. The opportunity cost of what could have been done with the resources that were allocated to that, never considered. The execution of process is the target. There is no patient-centered or tangible or valuable or measurable or verifiable or falsifiable significant outcome that's ever measured. And we must all believe that if the process is taken care of, the outcome will, of course, follow. So let me say to you that I've lived in a hospital, or in hospitals rather, for 35 years. And I know from personal experience that the human factors that regulate process change are massive. In fact, overwhelming, sometimes unchangeable and unstoppable, and they control the process of what happens. Their complexity on a daily basis is extraordinary, and their drivers are innumerable and mostly related to power and money. Now, in this totally bizarre and chaotic world, just like in our society, things do happen, because although the specific goals are chaotic, the general goal is that, yeah, we do have a hospital and we kind of got to look after patients. So something does happen. But the arrival of managerialism has been an extraordinary thing. So why do I go to work in the morning? Because I am deluded. And as I say to my wife, it's the voices. It's the voices. And they tell me to go to work and believe that the relentless pursuit of evidence is worth it. And I stick to this belief like an idiot every day, and God knows why. And again, that's because I am insane. But I still have a dream, and I have a dream that the things that just presented to you only happen elsewhere. I don't know, North Korea, Venezuela, but not in Australia. That in Australia we can forge ahead with the system in individual hospitals, in states and in the country, where there is consultation and a toing and froing between content experts and managers that create structures. That constructive advice can and will be accepted instead of identifying you as an enemy of the state. That professional achievement can and will be rewarded, and that patient-centered outcomes will trump power-based behavior. But I have a bigger dream, that every time the managers want to make a major process change, they take it to the ethics committee. Right? I'm definitely dreaming now, right? I'm hallucinating. That every major process change, right, comes with a clearly stated hypothesis. That every major process change comes with a primary outcome and a secondary outcome. And that will only be able to be done after it's been approved by the ethics committee. If I want to do a study and I want to give my patients aspirin, I'm doing one at the moment for sepsis, I've had to go through 6 months of ethics committee submissions. My hospital has been able to implement an electronic appointment system for people of whom about 20% can't speak English, to organize appointments to come to our patients. And they've disappeared into oblivion. Several of them have died because of loss of follow-up, and they just could bloody do it because they woke up in the morning and they thought it was a good idea and it would save money. So that it would be measured by an independent and unbiased observer. And it will come with a cost-effectiveness assessment and power calculations and size estimates. Why doesn't that happen? Why? Why can't we do this? We've recently done this. It's the introduction of chlorhexidine washes of our intensive care patients instead of the normal soap washes. Got all the information 1 year before, 1 year after, all of the data on all the bugs. We've significantly decreased colonization with MRSA. It can be done. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible for lots of things. So do we need to assess major process changes in a formal research methodology? Absolutely, because this is the alternative, right? This is the alternative. Thank you very much.